Hey, Lions Nation! We're back with another exclusive video bringing you all the latest news about our beloved Detroit Lions. Before we get started, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss anything about the team now. Let's get into the news. In an unexpected and deeply disruptive turn of events for the NFL and the Detroit Lions organization, wide receiver Jameson Williams has reportedly tested positive in an anti-doping examination, triggering what league officials are describing internally as a presumptive violation that could lead to severe disciplinary action, including a long-term suspension or even a league-imposed ban. While details continue to unfold and official statements remain cautious, multiple sources familiar with the league's compliance operations have confirmed that the test flagged a prohibited substance associated with performance enhancement, and that the preliminary result has already been communicated to the Lions front office. The news has sent shockwaves through the team's training facility in Allen Park, and immediately raised pressing questions about the fate of one of Detroit's most promising and explosive young talents. Williams, drafted 12th overall in 2020 out of Alabama, has been viewed as a cornerstone of the Lions' offensive future, a player whose speed, acceleration, and big play ability position him as a rising star in a franchise attempting to redefine its identity under head coach Dan Campbell and general manager Brad Holmes. His development has already been marked by both flashes of brilliance and frustrating setbacks, particularly the ACL injury he suffered in college, and the 2023 suspension he received for violating the league's gambling policy. That earlier disciplinary issue did not directly relate to performance enhancement, but it created a narrative backdrop that now intensifies scrutiny around the present situation. Sources around the league have expressed concern that this second major infraction in such a short period of time may leave the NFL disciplinary committee little room for leniency. League insiders familiar with the anti-doping protocols emphasize that a positive test at this stage is still subject to confirmatory analysis, especially when involving substances that may be flagged due to contamination, prescription medications, or disputed classifications. However, several individuals with direct knowledge of the testing process say the substance identified in Williams' sample is one the league rarely mistakes for benign triggers. In fact, one veteran executive described it as the type of result that almost always leads to discipline. Barring extraordinary evidence, the NFL's collective bargaining agreement outlines strict procedures for appeals, second sample testing, and independent arbitration, but it also contains clauses that allow the league to impose enhanced penalties for players deemed repeat offenders or for those involved with substances considered high risk for competitive integrity. As word of the test result emerged, the Detroit Lions organization issued only a brief statement, acknowledging awareness of a potential compliance matter involving a player, and declining further comment until the league's process concludes. Privately, however, coaches and staff are said to be rattled by the development. For a franchise enjoying its most promising trajectory in decades, having reached deep into the playoffs and developing a roster anchored by a dynamic offense, the potential loss of Williams for an extended period threatens to destabilize both depth charts and long-term planning. His ability to stretch the field and create mismatches has been central to the Lions' evolving offensive schemes, and his chemistry with quarterback Jared Goff was a key storyline entering the season. Within the broader NFL community, reactions have ranged from disbelief to weary resignation. Some current players expressed sympathy for Williams, but also voiced frustration that high-profile athletes continue to jeopardize their careers by violating doping protocols that have been in place for years. Others noted that despite the league's stringent testing procedures, accidental exposure and supplement contamination remain legitimate concerns, problems that have ensnared several players in the past. Still, the underlying sentiment across front offices and analytical departments is one of heightened vigilance. Performance-enhancing substances pose a perennial threat to the league's competitive balance, and enforcement remains a high priority, particularly as the NFL seeks to protect its image amidst growing global commercial expansion. Those close to Williams, including teammates and individuals familiar with his training regimen, have stressed that the young receiver has worked intensely over the offseason to elevate his performance, rebuild trust within the organization, and position himself as a breakout candidate. Many note that he has been vocal about wanting to move past the reputation created by his earlier suspension, committing to a disciplined training schedule and deeper engagement with the team's playbook. For these supporters, The news of a positive test is either a shocking contradiction to the player they have witnessed firsthand, or an indication that something within the testing process has gone awry. Until the league releases additional information, speculation continues to swirl, feeding a storm of public attention that now engulfs both the player and the franchise. Before we move on, take a second to drop a like and subscribe. That way, you'll stay up to date with every exclusive Lions update, and you'll even have a chance to win an official Detroit Lions jersey. Let's keep going. Meanwhile, analysts are already debating how a potential ban would shape Detroit's immediate and long-term strategy. Losing Williams for an extended stretch would force the Lions to rely more heavily on veteran receivers, while reconsidering their passing dynamics. It could also accelerate development for younger depth players. Though none currently possess the raw speed or field-tilting potential Williams brings, the front office might explore trade options or mid-season signings. But such moves rarely offer adequate compensation for the loss of a player who was expected to be a foundational piece. More broadly, a suspension with the magnitude being discussed could influence contract negotiations, salary cap strategies, and the team's draft priorities in upcoming years. The legal and procedural steps ahead are clearly defined but could take weeks. Williams and his representatives will be notified formally of the positive result, at which point they may request testing of the B sample, typically conducted in a controlled and monitored environment. If the secondary analysis confirms the initial finding, the league will proceed with disciplinary recommendations, which may include multi-game suspensions, season-long removal, or in extreme cases indefinite bans. Appeals are handled by jointly appointed arbitrators who review evidence, expert testimony, laboratory processes, and the player's history of compliance. Though some players have succeeded in reducing penalties through arbitration, outright overturning of a confirmed positive test remains statistically rare. Public reaction has been intense and immediate. Social media platforms exploded within minutes of the first reports, with fans, commentators, and analysts weighing in on what the situation means for the Lions, for Williams, and for the league's broader efforts to maintain fairness and transparency. Some supporters argue that the league's disciplinary system is often overly punitive and fails to account for the realities of modern sports supplementation, where even trace contamination can trigger violations. Critics counter that players at the highest level of professional football have both the resources and the responsibility to ensure they comply fully with anti-doping rules. Amid the polarized debate, one thing is certain: Williams has become the focal point of a national sports conversation that will not fade quickly. The timing of the alleged violation adds another layer of complexity. The Lions, entering a season with unprecedented expectations from their fan base, were counting on Williams to elevate his production and expand the range of their offense. His absence, particularly if lengthy, would disrupt months of planning and film study. It also raises internal questions about leadership, accountability, and the resilience of a program built around a culture of discipline and competitive toughness. As one league executive observed, moments like this test not just the player, but the entire organization. Adding to the emotional weight of the unfolding drama is the personal dimension. Williams, still only in his early 20s, has navigated significant pressure since entering the league, recovering from a major injury, adjusting to professional expectations, dealing with the aftermath of his gambling suspension, and facing relentless scrutiny from media and fans. Those who know him describe a young man determined to meet these challenges head-on, but also aware of the magnifying glass under which every step of his career is examined. The prospect of a ban, especially one that could shape or even derail his early trajectory, casts a sobering shadow over what was supposed to be a season of redemption. In the days ahead, the factual landscape will continue to evolve. Further testing, official statements, and the eventual disciplinary findings will clarify the situation. Until then, the uncertainty remains profound. Rival teams are monitoring developments to understand potential competitive implications. Agents and trainers are dissecting what the case might signal for broader trends in player compliance, and league enforcement, journalists, and commentators are scrutinizing every element of the story, parsing language from team officials and attempting to interpret what is being said and what is being withheld. Even in an era where breaking news dominates daily sports cycles, the gravity of this case stands out. A positive doping test is always significant. A positive test involving a high-profile young player already navigating the complexities of early career controversies and playing a pivotal role on a surging franchise magnifies that significance exponentially. It is not merely a story about a test result, but a narrative about trust, accountability, competitive integrity, and the fragile balance between athletic promise and personal decision-making. For now, the Detroit Lions must confront the reality that one of their most important players faces the possibility of missing substantial time, potentially jeopardizing the momentum the organization has worked so hard to build. The NFL must prepare to enforce its policies consistently and transparently, recognizing that its actions in high-profile cases set precedents and shape public perception. And Williams himself must navigate a period of intense scrutiny, uncertainty, and potential consequence, one that may define not only this season, but perhaps the broader arc of his professional career. Whether the outcome ultimately results in suspension, exoneration, or something in between, the shockwaves triggered by the initial report are unlikely to subside quickly. Fans, analysts, and league officials remain riveted, waiting for the next development in a story that has instantly become one of the most consequential controversies of the season. As of now, the only certainty is that the implications of this moment reach far beyond a single test result. They touch the entire fabric of a franchise, challenge a young athlete's future, and underscore once again how fragile the path to NFL stardom can be. We bring you the latest Lions news every single day, so make sure you're subscribed. Hit that like button and turn on notifications so you don't miss a thing. And of course, drop a comment below with your thoughts on today's news. Your voice makes a difference for Lions Nation. See you in the next video.